for more details on our conditions and a broader sense of the extreme weather we're seeing across the country. I'm joined by senior meteorologist and lead U.S. long-range forecaster at AccuWeather, Paul Passalak. Thank you so much for being here, Paul.
Thanks, Karina. Glad to be here.
Okay, so we have more than 16 states under heat alerts today as severe weather threatens the south and the northeast, and millions could be dealing with high temperatures for possibly weeks to come. So first, let's talk about that and who in the United States will be dealing with the extreme heat, and that does include parts of the Bay Area.
It does. And this heat dome that it's being called centered itself over the southwest United States about over a week or two ago, has really flourished. And we're seeing the heat results in parts of the deserts of the Southwest, especially Phoenix, Arizona, continues its streak of over 110 degrees. And then you add in the humidity and it feels even hotter down there. They've actually had an increase in humidity levels. We're seeing it also in Florida, southern Florida and Miami. They can't get any cool down there as well. And then here in California, we started to see the baking going on right now. It probably lasts through the weekend. And then, as you said, just a little while ago, it looks like we get a little break going into the middle of next week. But I don't think it goes away. I think as we get into August, we may start to see some of this heat returning again.
Oh, that's a long time to deal with extreme heat. I know a lot of these places are used to hot weather. You know, places like Las Vegas, Dallas, and Phoenix, where they've broken heat records, multiple heat records. In Phoenix, they've had, I think it's 37 consecutive days now above 100 degrees. And again, they broke records there. What is going on? Because this does seem to be more extreme than usual. Is that accurate?
Well, when you look at the Southwest, two things come to mind. There was a multi-decadal drought that's gone on since 2000, and we've gotten a little bit out of that due to the recent weather that we saw over the winter and the spring to kind of break that pattern. In fact, if you look at the drought scenario, we've really reduced drought compared to last year. It was a big thing going into the summer. It was really bad. Now we've reduced it. So that contributed as well for this constant heat and some of the heat that we saw in this buildup of the high. But here's the thing. Keep in mind, the infrastructure down in the Southwest around Phoenix and Tucson, we're paving more roadways. We're losing a lot of our dirt roads. That's helping to contribute to more heat. Population growing, more people migrating to these southern cities as well to get away from the bad weather in the north. We're starting to see that increase as well. That all on top of it, that urban heat effect is multiplying and going on. And a little bit, you got to throw in the climate change thing as well. We're seeing differences all over the globe that are affecting our weather patterns. And that area of the country seems to be getting the worst of it. So as we continue to go on and on, I think more of this will happen. And of course, it depends on other things, weather related, the teleconnections and the patterns between El Nino and La Nina that we see.
Okay, we'll get to that in just a moment, but let's move on and talk about the fire season. Oregon is dealing with the flat fire, one of 25 fires across the state. And because of that, we had our air quality that was impacted. What can we expect fire season to look like this summer and fall, I guess, in places like Oregon, but let's focus here in California and the Bay Area.
Yeah, one thing about the flat fire, though, is it really took off in the last 3 days. I mean, I think over 8,000 acres burned in the last 3 days. They're up over 15,000 acres. The flow is out of the west-southwest, which has taken a lot of the smoke to the north of us here in the Bay Area. So that's good news there. And I think that trend will continue at least over the next week or two. But for us, what we've seen now is this really incredible wet season that took place in a weak La Nina time, which is not something that we typically see a lot of happening, but we did get a lot of rain and a lot of snow. In fact, there's still snowing in Mammoth Mountain right now. They had a record 713 inches of snow, and they're not expected to close.
There's actually skiing going on at some resort I heard in California until August 6th. Pretty incredible.
August 6th, that's right. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love to ski and snowboard, but it's still going on there. And, but we've dried out. Okay, and we got into the dry season a little later than usual, but we got into the dry season. The fuels are starting to dry out, and the patterns are setting up that we could have maybe not quite as the extent that we saw in 2020 with all the trigger mechanisms from the dry thunderstorms, but we may see a few of those coming up here as we go in the middle of next week. And so that's something to be concerned about, fires being ignited by some drier thunderstorms. So that's something to watch. Second of all, last year we didn't have much wind, offshore winds. It took until like January before we got that going, and that was too late. So we really haven't seen that as far as spreading fires. We saw that in 2017 with big fires developing. And so that's another thing we'll watch going into August. There's a possibility of the pattern developing, and especially into October. I think those are the 2 months to watch for these fires to kind of build up here in Northern California.
Okay, so let's talk about, you're starting to talk about October, which is pretty incredible that, you can do that far ahead and predict what we might see. So let's talk about fall and winter. What can we expect to happen in terms of the rain and snow? I mean, last year was just incredible. So many people had to deal with flooding and, of course, record rainfall. So what can we see this year?
Well, we're going into a pattern called El Nino, and El Nino is the warming of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, and we've seen a significant rise to moderate levels right now. However, the atmosphere and the oceans haven't connected just yet. We're getting there. It's going to be a process into the fall and winter. The question mark is, when does it all come together there? Generally, El Nino brings a southern track stronger, and usually a lot of the moisture goes across the south into the southeast, and we don't get as much here in Northern California, Northwest, compared to normal. So that's something we're going to be watching, but that transition may be a little slower, and there may be other things that are involved more, the ocean water temperatures that are changing right now. So I think as we get into October, we're still dealing with some dryness and fires going on, but we could tip the hat here going into November and start to get more of storms coming down out of the Gulf of Alaska, dropping down and producing some precipitation, maybe giving us the snowfall and the rainfall maybe in the late fall, early winter season before things start to dry out in the latter part of the winter season, based on what we've seen comparing other years to this year and what some of the forecast models are saying. So El Nino, a big driver. So that's something we have to watch going into the fall and winter season, and also the water temperatures off the California coast.
And I know, as always, you'll be watching closely. I learned a lot today. Paul Pastelok, thank you so much for making time and going over all this weather information with us. Always learn something from you. I appreciate it.
Anytime.